I might as well. Do you want me to go first? Just get me out of the way. Go. Yeah. So, I'm a content creator. Obviously, I do well, and I'm more a content creator than a streamer. I stream occasionally. Started to stream a lot more than I did, but mainly just YouTube is my jam. But played World of Warcraft literally since 2004 when it dragged me away from City of Heroes Online of all things. And I'll be honest with you, pretty much never taken a break since. The whole content creation thing was a pure fluke. I was bored. No one was making good Feral Druid content, so I was like, oh, I'll put a guide out, and then I'm looking at it like, actually, people like that. I'll do another video. I'll do another video. I'll do, and then it got to the point now where that's pretty much all I do.
Awesome. I'm Nora. We've never met. I've been working for Blizzard for about the past 5 years. I too have played World of Warcraft since original vanilla. I am still an avid WoW player to this day. I split my time between Classic and Retail, and I've been on the WoW Classic team for about a year, and I'm super happy to be here and to meet you.
I'm Josh Greenfield. I'm a senior producer on WoW Classic. I've been at Blizzard for about 14 years now. I've been on Classic since the beginning. I was one of the first few people on the team. I've also, like you, have played WoW basically since not basically, literally since the very beginning. I was in the beta, and I think I like to tell people that when I first got WoW, I just met my then girlfriend, now wife, and I was like, so there's this thing coming out called World of Warcraft. It's probably going to be kind of a big deal to me, and and the rest is history. It's kind of been my journey, but really excited to be here and talk to you, Scott.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for your time.
I forgot to mention my job title. I'm also I'm a lead engineer on the team.
Oh, okay, cool.
Pretty recent.
So, well, I mean, even it's fairly a big giveaway what we're going to be talking about on the basis you've both got classic, hardcore, nice logos on your screen. I feel a bit left out not having that, actually. But I've got tons of questions, so if you're happy for me to just fire away, get straight into it. I'm hoping that most of these questions will be things that the wider hardcore community as well, like things that they're thinking of or things they're worried about. So, from a real broad perspective, looking at classic hardcore as a whole, what's the plans for the servers? So, are we going to get a progressive server, much like we did, with 2019 Classic, or is all content going to be available at launch?
Great question. That's something that we sort of had gone back and forth on a lot. The short answer is that all the content will be unlocked at launch. And I think it's really important to kind of dig into why that is and how we kind of landed at that, because it was something we debated quite a bit. I think early on we were just like, yeah, of course we're going to do the progressive unlocks. But as we sort of played more on the unofficial realms and sort of thought about what hardcore really is, the focus is sort of the journey, not the destination. It's more about leveling and experiencing that content. And most of the phase unlocks, it's largely in-game focus. So, I don't know if you've ever, gone to a forum like right after a phase launches and someone's like, is it too late to start? And it's like, the answer is always no. But at the same point, there is definitely a psychological sort of impact that you have when it's like, oh, I'm level 45 and Blackwing Lair is about to come out. I got to hurry. And it's like, do you? Why? So that was kind of our main reasoning there, is we really just want people to drop in, play as much as they want. If they want to leave and come back, it's kind of supposed to be an evergreen experience that you can sort of come in and out of, irrespective of what else is sort of happening with phase changes and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because my one worry, which obviously doesn't even matter now, is like the itemization changes that happens throughout the phases as well, where it's like, do you have tier 0.5 in from launch? Do you have these better itemized items from dungeons? So,
One other point too there that I think is kind of important is on that note is that folks that are in-game focused, I don't think that's not going to likely represent the majority of players, but there will be some that are. And it's one thing whenever it's like, oh, the race to world first Molten Core hardcore, Molten Core was cleared in 5 days at original 2019 Classic. And I think it might take a little longer, but it would still be pretty quick. But race to world first Naxxramas, that might be a much more interesting race. And as I think anyone who's spent any time in hardcore can tell you that, just because you can do a thing doesn't necessarily mean you should. So there's a level of preparation that's going to need to go into that, and that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's a real, a good point. When you're talking Realm First KT, and you've got all the other content to do before that, or do you do all the other content before that? Do you go, well, let's just try and get pre-raid bis, see if we can force our way through AQ? You know, there'll be people doing really interesting strats to try and get KT world first on hardcore servers. So yeah, no, that's awesome. Sort of along the similar lines, because I feel like with it being non-progressive, you know, dungeons play a big part in that. Have you got any plans on? Like, I appreciate this is not a community rule set like what we've worked with for so long, but the community rule set does say you can only do each dungeon once on the way up while you're leveling. Is there any? Should we expect any changes there, or it's just do what you want, basically?
So I think to build off of what Josh already said about the focus being on the journey in hardcore, I think one of the most important aspects of hardcore realms is engaging in those adventures in the outside world with players. We think that creating those random serendipitous interactions is a core aspect of original World of Warcraft, and things like the so-called dungeon cleave or dungeon spam leveling groups are kind of counter in spirit to what hardcore is about. So as a result, we've added a 24-hour timer to almost all dungeons for players until they hit level 60. By extension, that also means that level 60 players may not enter dungeons with players below level 60. Okay,
yeah, really interesting. I had a sneaky suspicion it might go along those lines, but I think that's good. It makes the dungeons also, like in my opinion at least, makes them feel more like heroics on, you know, in current Wrath, because you can only do them once a day. Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things too that it would be a big drag if you like missed out on a quest item or something and you're just like, oh, I can't go back. That sucks. Like, it's like, sure, just go back tomorrow, but you know, you're not going to level through that dungeon forever. You know.
Yeah.
Be like me and forget to pick up the quest and then do the dungeon. You're like, oh.
I only do that in every dungeon. That's fine. Yeah. You're not alone.
Did that with Varigan's Fist on my paladin, and I was very sad.
Ouch. Yeah, the worst time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're on the lines of dungeons anyway, so a bit of a two-parter, and probably one that you've heard to death. Petrification flasks and bubble as well. It like in the same sort of same vein, you know, can we expect to see paladins when things start going wrong in a dungeon being able to just bubble half out, or, you know, petrification flask log out? Well, not log out, but, you know, automatically ported out. Is there any changes around either of those?
So petrification flask is a great question. We ourselves, again, have debated that a lot internally, sort of amongst ourselves. We're watching it really closely. We don't have any concrete plans to make adjustments right now. We want to pay close attention to how things play out when the server launches. I think that it's important to kind of also understand that while, you know, I think we've all watched maybe streams of people trying to do high-end content and unofficial realms and seeing people pop petrification flasks. Those are very mature environments. A lot of those folks have been playing on those realms for a couple of years now. They've built up a lot of resources and things like that. That's not necessarily going to be a trivial cost on a realm where everyone is hardcore and it's a fresh economy. And making heavy-handed changes now it feels a little punishing before we really see how it plays out and how it works. You know, also, you know, I think a lot of the loudest voices sort of against petrification flask are, you know, it's a lot of people who've really leveled a lot of characters to 60 on hardcore, and they're very comfortable with it, or maybe even professional content creators who, you know, they have a different sort of approach and things like that, and dying is a little bit less impactful to them. Whereas, you know, if Bob the Hunter hits level 60 and goes into Molten Core with his guild and then kind of butt pulls a pack and ends up wiping half the raid group, if there's no real recourse or escape, that feels that doesn't feel the best. So having some sort of escape is important. Now, on the second half of that question with Bubble Hearth, that's actually something that's a restriction we're actually going to maintain. And it's interesting. They're kind of related, but they're also kind of different, because Bubble Hearth is a totally free get out of jail free card every hour. And while it's sort of an iconic part of the Paladin class, if not heroic, but iconic, right? Also, Shaman's Reincarnation is also iconic. A Warlock's Soulstone's also iconic, but those things are completely incompatible with hardcore. And in the same vein, we're going to basically make it so that if you're under the effects of a Paladin immunity, you can't use a Hearthstone, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you said about Soulstone and Ankh, are they in the game but don't function, or you've just removed them completely?
Yeah, they're in essentially they just don't function. Yeah, that's how it works. There was a lot of little things like that. That's like, do we just go through and like remove the Paladin Resurrection quest? And it's like, I don't know. You can still get the experience from it. So yeah, it just won't function.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think what you said as well about the petrification flask. Yeah, the fact that at the moment most of the people that are doing hardcore are on a server where there's already tons of level 60 non-hardcore characters that can go out and farm as much as they want, as freely as they want. Yeah, we're not going to have that, so probably will see less of them.
But we're going to keep an eye on it. That is the most important thing to us, is keep a close eye.
Cool. I got a real nice short one. World buffs, in or out?
In. World buff to your heart's content, yeah.
Okay. Any like Chrono Boom or anything like that? Is that going to be in as well?
Chrono Boom will be in as well. Yeah.
Okay. This is where I see because you've got such a big, not split in the community, but you know what I mean. You've got the people who are diehard. Yes, we want world buffs, and then you got the ones that don't want it. So yeah, I mean, I personally, which could upset some people, I am a world buff fan. I don't like the whole having to log out and, you know, you can't risk logging in again until it's raid time. But actually, I think it adds a lot more pressure. And the fact that it's hardcore, there's pressure enough. But yeah, I think that's good.
It's the funny thing is playing on the hardcore realms ourselves, it sort of reminded us how much of a social moment it is whenever the buff is about to go out in Stormwind or Orgrimmar. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's there, some guy's screaming late. Like it's just a part of the experience, you know? Like
it's going to be interesting to see how often the world buffs are actually going out, though, because I mean, with it requiring, you're probably not. Yeah, there's going to be no raids being cleared for it could even be months with reliable world buffs. You might get lucky and, you know, one guild pops like an Oni head or something, but yeah, it's not going to be as frequent, nowhere near as obviously Classic was.
But that might make it even more special and exciting when it does. Because I know that even on the, the regular like Bloodsail Buccaneers, like I'd be standing around in Stormwind waiting for my buff, and that excitement was palpable with everybody standing around in town.
Yeah, definitely. And the organization on Discord, like the Realm Discord, where everyone's saying this guild's popping their head at this time, this guild. Like it's crazy the lengths that we actually go to, nowadays. But no, that's great. Okay, so for again, I know this is not really a hardcore question, or it kind of is, but if I get to 60, I'll use me as an example. Like if I get to 60 hardcore, that's me done. Actually, that's how I consider hardcore complete. I'm not bothered about going and doing like getting pre-raid bis. I'm not bothered about raiding. You know, I just like the leveling as hardcore for me. Yeah, end game is once you ding 60. Is there anywhere you can take your hardcore characters to? So from these hardcore realms, can you then take them onto Wrath? Would you possibly even consider getting an achievement that you was, when you move it onto Wrath, you've got proof that you was a hardcore character before you went over onto, the sort of progressive realms? What do you think? Or what do you know, more to the point?
So one of the things that we are allowing on the hardcore realms, we haven't touched on this yet, but this is kind of an important aspect, is if your character dies on hardcore, we are actually going to let you transfer that character to a normal era realm.
Oh, okay.
So your character's done on that realm. Your journey is over there, but you can go to another normal era realm. Now, that's just the normal free character move service. So once you hit 60, if you want to go to a normal era realm, that's available to you. There's no plans right now to allow you to go to Wrath or anything like that. I can't see the future, maybe someday, but there's nothing really we're talking about or thinking about there. But there will always be an option that's like, say you level a character of 45, but he hasn't died. And you're like, you know what? This is too much pressure. I can't handle it. I just want to go. Like, you can move your character to a normal realm for free.
One way. You can't transfer to a hardcore.
You cannot go back. You will never be able to go back.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or we will start seeing petrification flasks everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not what we want. Definitely not what we want.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope in the future, again, I know, like you say, we can't see the future, but I would hope that you could eventually go on to whatever the current classic expansion is at the time, because it would encourage me, definitely, just personally, to level more on hardcore realms, because you get that where it don't feel like, because I'm a big Wrath player, there's no secret. Yeah. You go on my YouTube channel, all there is Wrath videos. But I would be more inclined to level on hardcore, knowing, well, if I die, I can then just carry on Wrath, or if I get to 60, I can then carry on Wrath. Whereas on a classic era realm that I'm never going to log on, you know, like look, for me, once that character's then dead or 60, it's done. I can't see me ever logging on it again. It would just give it more purpose.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we talk about quite a bit is, you know, we don't want to get into a situation where players feel like they have to go do something that's outside of their normal. Like, I would want to do this to get an achievement or something like that. Like, so I think that's a very interesting suggestion, and part of the reason I'm continuing to talk about it is because I'm thinking about it now, and it's an interesting idea. But I think we need to be really careful about what sort of reward and recognition you can actually take with you, because we don't want to create a situation where people are stuck. You know, I feel like I have to do this to get a cool thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Cool. This I would have liked to have spoke about this a little bit earlier, actually, because you've already touched on the fact about, you know, the transfers to Classic Era will be free. And again, I'm not going to hold you to this because we can't see the future, but do you foresee any, in the near future at least, any monetization options coming to Classic Hardcore?
No plans. No plans. We don't see that.
No. I thought that would be the answer, but, you know, again, there's a lot of speculation around, the WoW token's making its way through all the, you know, various versions of WoW, so Classic Hardcore's next. And I've been very much like, that would just ruin it. Like, that makes sense.
We put out a blue post a few weeks ago that kind of talks about some of the feelings we have about Token and Wrath, and one of the reasons we kind of listed there for why it didn't feel appropriate on original WoW, like vanilla WoW era servers in the West. Those reasons still stand. You can refer back to that, but that makes a lot of sense. Gold's just a little bit more important to your day to day. We don't ever really want to get into a situation where people feel like they need to buy gold to do their normal daily activities, and that's just kind of how vanilla works. So. Yeah.
And ultimately, too, like, aside from how we feel about it, what I can say is I greatly appreciate the community's willingness to express their concerns and provide us with valuable insight on what they'd like to see from us going forward.
Totally.
Yep. As a community, the WoW community definitely is a vocal community.
I love it.
It's part of the charm.
Yeah, definitely. What next? So the announcement. Yeah, so the announcement you made at the hardcore tournament, you obviously mentioned the duel to the death, which was very, very well received. Everyone's excited about that. In fact, I am excited about it. So I've got a little bit of a game going on with a co-host of a podcast where we're going to get to 20 and then duel to the death on stream, just for fun. So you'll probably see a clip of that at some point. Is there any more you want to talk about that, or any additional features like that we haven't seen before that are specifically tailored for hardcore realms?
One thing I can think of is that there was originally a technical limitation in the earliest versions of World of Warcraft, and so this wasn't like a conscious design choice at the time, but the buff and debuff limits. So basically, we preserved the original buff and debuff limits for WoW Classic for authenticity, but it's always kind of been a contentious part of vanilla WoW and places significant constraints on like build and class diversity. So as a result, we will be removing this limitation in hardcore realms and effectively uncapping buffs and debuffs.
Okay, that's good. Did you done that in SOM as well, didn't you? SOM, or was the cap just raised? Yeah. I can't remember which way it went. Yeah.
We did it in SOM, yeah. We're going to carry that change over. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Well, go ahead. Nora, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, the other thing I can think of is the death announcements to your guild. So if you're in a guild with somebody and they regrettably pass away, you will be notified and you can pay respects in chat if a guild member dies. There will also be server-wide broadcasts when players hit level 60, which should hopefully be exciting.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Josh, I'll let you, if you want to.
Sure. Yeah, one of the other aspects of Duels to the Death that we haven't talked about is we are kind of adding a little homage to Diablo in there, and you're going to be able to get a buff called the String of Ears. Basically, it's purely cosmetic buff where if you win a duel to death and kill someone, you get a little buff that looks like an ear, and it goes up every time you win a duel. That's sort of just trophies for winning. There's obviously some restrictions to it, like it's not available before level 10, so you can't just like make level 1s and farm them, and it's also not available if you win a duel against someone that's significantly lower level than you. But it should be a cool little bragging rights clout thing for duel to death to so you know who's really serious business on your realms if they have stacks and stacks of this buff on them.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's
cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean that's a nice flex, isn't it? You know, to walk around showing off how many people you've dueled to the death. Do you like a bit of a weird question, but does it have to be within a level bracket to get the buff? So if I was to duel a level 1 as a level 60.
No, yeah, you can't get it there. I think I don't know. I can't remember the specific number we tuned it to, but you have to be within several levels of the person you're dueling to get the buff. Yeah.
Well, that's my plans ruined then.
and like I said too, you can't get it below level 10 at all. So like you have to get to 10 to be able to earn it. So yeah. Cool.
Was there anything else you wanted to add there? Even if it's just subtle differences?
Sure. Yeah, there's a couple of quests in original WoW that require you to die or be dead to complete them, like the Vidir Elixir quest and the Shadowforge Key quest. We've basically redesigned those for hardcore to allow you to complete them without being dead or dying. I'm not going to spoil how we did it here, but some of it's kind of clever stuff, but it's flavorful for classic, and we didn't really it's flavorful for hardcore, but we didn't want you to have to die to do that. So yeah,
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so a very hot topic again, and I pretty much only just need to say one word, and I'll let you crack on. So, griefing. Any plans to try and combat it? Any changes to AI, like how they actually react to certain things, like leashing? You know, being able to pull things from zone to zone. Is there any specifics that you've had to tweak to try and... I know you can't eliminate griefing no matter what you do. You know, there's always going to be a way. But yeah, have you done anything to at least soften the blow?
So we have changed the behavior of mobs that you can aggro. Basically, they will reset after you drag them away from a certain distance from where they're first engaged in combat. And, you know, like ultimately our objective is to make sure things like PvP is as consensual as it can be. And so because of this, hardcore realms will be PvE realms, and PvP flagging is no longer automatic when attacking another player in hardcore. So players will have to be a lot more deliberate about flagging themselves if they would like to engage in PvP combat. And, you know, to build off of Josh's answer before about like quest changes, quests that previously caused players to become PvP flagged no longer have this effect. So we're trying to mitigate the accidental PvP flagging that, you know, causes you to go, oh no, I didn't mean to do that, and then somebody scoops in and gets you.
Yeah. So is it simply type in /PvP? There's no, you don't need to. Okay.
Yeah, if there's a PvP flag player near you and you right click them, it won't have the effect like it has on Era now, where you just attack them and get PvP flagged. It'll give you a message that says you need to be PvP flagged to engage this target. Obviously, if you still like run into an enemy city or town, you're going to get PvP flagged. Yeah. But you know, a lot of the tricks that a lot of the shenanigans aren't possible anymore with some of these changes. Also, the other thing I kind of want to touch on is that, you know, these are PvE realms, like Nora said, and it is strictly against the rules here to try and deliberately kill people in non-consensual PvP. That's something we've stepped up a lot of enforcement for on the Era realms, and we're going to continue to try and hold people to a standard where they don't, you know, try and engage in non-consensual PvP. Don't do that. That's not what these realms are for.
Yeah, we love PvP. Just make sure you do so honorably and with you know somebody else who also wants to PvP with you.
Yes.
Yeah. So just real briefly on that. So you say you've stepped it up on Classic Era. What is the punishment? I mean, I think that's good for people to know anyway. Is it just a short ban? Is it like what actually?
We don't like to talk about specific punishments, but I think it's commensurate to the crime. And on something on like a hardcore realm, like you can definitely face punishments up to and including account closure. So
okay, yeah. So it can be serious. Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
I think there'll be a lot less on Hardcore Realms anyway. I feel like there's a lot of effort required to be able to get to a level to be able to do some of these things. So,
and it's much higher stakes too. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I've actually only got one question left, so you might be able to get an early lunch or something. Is there any plans for? I know it might even depend on how well it's received and everything now with the classic Hardcore Realms, but is there any plans to maybe do it in other versions of the game, be it retail, be it Wrath, Cataclysm when it comes out, like anything like that?
No plans. We love seeing community feedback. I myself am extremely curious to see how Hardcore Realms land and what players like and don't like about it. And so we look forward to learning from the community feedback.
That's cool. I think a lot of people, quite honestly, would enjoy in a I don't want to say not retail, but classic actual like Wrath or something like that. I feel like it would be quite well received.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I hope it's very well received in classic.
So what about, so just to finish, because we have got a couple of minutes anyway, like what excites you both about Hardcore? Like, with bringing these realms to life, it's been a community driven project for so long. What made you sort of go, actually, like, this is going to be really good?
For me, it was engaging with it myself, because like it was something I'd heard about. And, I heard about it even more after joining the WoW Classic team. And eventually I decided, I was like, what? I want to try this thing out. And I had a blast. Initially, I thought that maybe it would be a very, isolating experience, especially because of all the the restrictions I took upon myself when I, created my hardcore character on a regular realm. And I actually found it to be deeply social. Like I joined one of the hardcore guilds. We socialized in guild chat. Everybody erupted in, oh no, F's to pay respects. Whenever somebody would die, it was, I found it to be a deeply social and rewarding experience. I had a blast.
I mean, a lot of the same things that Nora said, like what I said in kind of the announcement a couple weeks back was, everyone really, there's this culture of celebrating failure in hardcore. Everyone thinks about the lessons they learned. When I lost my first hardcore character, it was level 31, and it was, I had like about 30 seconds of like intense grief, and then I was like, I'm going to make a funny video out of this. It's just like the attitude completely shifted into, okay, what am I going to do next? I think I'm going to try Hunter next, because it's such a fun, interesting sort of take on WoW, where it's just like everyone sort of celebrates failure, everyone celebrates success. It is the journey. It is about the journey and not the destination. And I think that's truly unique and truly super engaging.
I feel like the people from the outside looking in who haven't done or tried hardcore before, it can be, they look at it as quite strange when they're like, oh my God, you just got to 31. That took you, you've been doing that for a week and you've had to delete it. But you feel nothing. You feel, obviously, you feel defeat when you die, but then you're like, right, I need to go again. That's the only thing you're thinking about. I need to go again. It is, it's a strange experience, but a really good one.
And the community swarms in to tell you to go again. They're supportive, they're encouraging. It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Right? One addendum to that is whenever you die, on the official realms, you will get a pop-up that's like, basically go again. It's encouraging you in the moment, like you should try again.
Don't be a quitter. Yeah, you've got
exactly.
one real minor one, just as we have got a minute anyway. A lot of people, I'm sure you've both probably done dungeons, even like lower level dungeons, hardcore. It's very sort of, everyone jumps on Discord, don't they? Like you want good communication. No one wants to die. Would there ever be a thing where like the in-game voice chat was, sort of not forced for dungeons, but it was like at least a pop-up when you walk in a dungeon? We recommend you use voice chat, because then you ain't even got to worry about sending Discord invites or anything like that.
It's an interesting suggestion. I honestly haven't really thought about it, but maybe that'll be something we discuss.
Same. I think that's something to evaluate, and I really look forward to all the other really cool ideas, just like that one that will surface through the community.
Yeah. So I think the last thing we'll say is that PTR is going up this week. That's why we're talking to you. And we really, really want everyone to get in there. It's going to go up on Thursday, the 29th. We really want everyone in there telling us what they think. We're also testing some underlying server technology. So we would love as many people as possible to log in on those first few days so that we can see, you know, how everything works with a lot of people and stuff like that. And just give us feedback on the rule set, you know, play through it, see what you like, see what you don't like. Things like the leash range change, that's all tunable. So we really like to see, you know, we don't want to interfere with things like hunters doing normal kiting and stuff like that. So we really would be interested to get any feedback from anyone. We'll have forums for this and everything too.
That's great. I mean, 2 days time, I'm going to have to write my weekend off. I'm sure the family are going to love that. No, that's great. I'm out of questions. That was amazing. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks so much, Scott.
Thank you.